Abal na pwede kaya jung. Ani boyo uma amadana larin. Tara uyo kudoria. Tara unya lara. Riata gingo ya. Riata ngamiredia. Angoku kaliwania. Angoku nya ngurut. Angoku nya zakatani.
The Stanford Geospatial Center supports the use of geospatial data and technology in research and teaching at Stanford University, whatever that means at any given time. That could mean something as simple as helping a researcher take a table of addresses and turn it into points on a map so that they can extract other data from other data sources to their research data. It can be something as complex as using machine learning to find nomadic pastoralists in southern Ethiopia. The Nyangatom are one of the most isolated populations on Earth. They're nomadic pastoralists, they move often, and they defy one of the basic tenets of household public health survey. That is that people are tied to a single location. And because of that, they've classically been left out of all of the Department of Health Services surveys and interventions in Ethiopia. And this is a project that came along in 2017, in the summer of 2017, when Binzen Wild, who was at that time a med school student and researcher here at Stanford, came to the SGC and asked me to bring up Google Maps, Google Earth on the computer and zoom into a particular location. And she pointed at a village in the satellite imagery and said, that's what I'm interested in. I need to find those, but they move every few weeks. So this imagery doesn't do me any good. How can we do this? And so the Stanford Geospatial Center brought to bear all of the expertise that we have. We knew that we could get very fresh satellite imagery from one of our partner sources in industry. We knew that we could do the processing and the deployment of the imagery to platforms that would allow us to do a full settlement survey. And we knew that we had the expertise to create a randomized public health survey once we had that data in hand. Bringing data about the Nyangatom to the DHS in Ethiopia so that they can bring services to these people is probably the most important outcome of this project.
There's a reason these populations haven't been reached by health systems. In addition to being extremely remote, they're often very conflict affected, extremely harsh ecologically. And all those factors have kept these groups out of the basic data systems that it would even require to plan health systems capable of reaching them. The use of satellite imagery allows us to surmount so many of the barriers that prevented pastoralists from being included in health systems. And this is a very long-standing problem, and I really do think that this technology is a game changer. And this would simply not be possible without the Geospatial Center. I mean, I came just with a question asking if this was possible. I had none of the tools or technical knowledge required to make it happen.
One of the things that made this project successful was partnerships. Partnerships with industry, partnerships with other units within Stanford University and other units in the library. Our first partnership was with Digital Globe. At the time, they had a foundation that was providing grants of imagery for these types of projects. And so we applied to the Digital Globe Foundation for an imagery grant. And within a week, because of the whitelisting that we had negotiated with Digital Globe at the time for Stanford research, we had fresh imagery in our hand that had only been taken 3 weeks prior. With that imagery, we were able to deploy to crowdsourcing applications where we could identify where each of the settlements in that 20,000 square kilometers worth of satellite imagery were. Now, in the latest phase of this project, what we're doing is shifting from a manual survey model, which we used in the past with giant screens and satellite and high-resolution satellite imagery, to a machine learning model where we can basically identify an area that we're interested in, flip a switch, and have a computer do the complete settlement survey on the freshest imagery available. What's making that possible is a partnership with Planet.com. Planet.com is a satellite imagery company that deploys hundreds of microsatellites into orbit around the Earth in such a way that they can image the Earth every day at 3-meter pixel resolution. That's incredibly high resolution and incredibly high cadence, and it's the kind of data you need for this sort of project where time is of the essence. For me, working in the Stanford libraries at the Stanford Geospatial Center and working with the researchers that we do is a dream come true. The challenge of the projects that are brought to the Stanford Geospatial Center are second to none. I love a good challenge, and there's nothing more challenging than finding nomadic pastoralists from space. Over the next 5 years, the biggest challenge for the Stanford Geospatial Center is going to be keeping up with the speed of technology, the new satellite platforms that are coming online and providing more and more streaming data available to researchers to do their research at scale. We're focused on building expertise, building collections, and building technology services that provide our researchers at Stanford with the most bleeding-edge support they can have. As Stanford moves into the 21st century and begins thinking about how it works on problems of sustainability with new schools, new departments, and new programs, spatial data is really one of the most fundamental ways to bring together all of the disparate pieces of sustainability. And that's because everything is somewhere, and that somewhere matters. And if you know where those things are, you can co-locate them and examine the relationships between essentially anything you can place on a map. The research we support at the Stanford Geospatial Center isn't just about the researchers here at Stanford. These researchers at Stanford, particularly the student researchers that we work with, are going to be the C-suites, and they're going to be the people running places like the WHO and the World Bank and the CDC in the future. And so the things that we teach them now, the data that we teach them to be aware of, and the techniques that we teach them to be aware of will impact the world far beyond Stanford University.